Manhattan has a very specific scent. If you've lived here long enough, you recognize it instantly. It's a sharp, polarizing mix of expensive gasoline, roasted Arabica beans, and the cold, metallic tang of raw ambition. But inside the Rose Vault, the air is filtered, curated, and heavy. It smells like blooming peonies in a midsummer garden and the dusty, intoxicating scent of old money. Here, a latte isn't just a caffeine fix. It's a social contract signed in porcelain. It costs $500. You aren't paying for the beans or the foam. You're paying for the silence. In this city, silence is the ultimate luxury. I was sitting at the corner table, the one usually reserved for hedge fund titans and tech moguls who buy and sell companies before lunch. The porcelain cup felt surprisingly heavy in my hand, thick, gold-rimmed, and vibrating with the low, subterranean hum of the subway lines running deep beneath the sidewalk. As the barista placed it down, her fingers brushed mine. Her skin was unnaturally cold, like she'd been holding ice for an hour. She didn't look at me. She looked through me, her eyes glazed with a strange polished sheen. "Don't drink the bottom," she whispered. Her voice was barely a breath, almost lost under the rhythmic, hypnotic notes of a soft jazz saxophone playing from hidden speakers. 6 words. 6 words that turned a prestigious morning ritual into a slow-motion countdown to a nightmare. A sane person would have walked away. But in New York, curiosity isn't just a trait. It's the most expensive thing you can own. And I was feeling particularly reckless. To understand why I stayed, you have to understand the world I inhabited. My life was a curated masterpiece of quiet luxury. I existed in a world of 800 thread-count silk slips, minimalist white lofts with echoing hallways, and 6 a.m. Pilates sessions, where the only sound was the synchronized rhythmic breathing of women who owned half of the real estate on Wall Street. I was a ghostwriter, the invisible hand that turns the messy, chaotic, and often dark lives of the elite into polished, best-selling legacies. I made monsters look like saints for a living. My personal brand was perfection. I drove a white Porsche meticulously removed, because if you know what it is, you don't need a badge to tell you. I carried a custom-weighted tumbler that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I knew exactly which shade of pink projected soft power without looking desperate. I thought I was the one in control. I thought I was the ghost in the room, the silent observer taking notes. I didn't realize that in a world built on mirrors, gold leaf, and high-frequency algorithms, someone is always watching the watcher. My life was a beautiful glass box, transparent, expensive, and incredibly fragile. And I was about to find out how easily glass shatters. The warning on the napkin wasn't just text. It was a fracture in my reality. Don't follow the pink light. At first, I let out a dry laugh. It sounded like a line from a bad psychological thriller I'd be hired to fix. But the laughter died in my throat when I looked up and saw him, Julian Vance. Julian is the kind of man who doesn't just enter a room. He colonizes it. He sat 3 tables away, stirring his own drink with a rhythmic, mechanical precision that made the fine hairs on my neck stand up. Every rotation of his spoon was timed to the millisecond. He looked at my cup, then slowly met my eyes. He didn't smile. He gave me a micro nod of recognition, the way a predator acknowledges a trapped animal that has finally realized it's in a cage. Suddenly, the pink latte felt like lead in my stomach. The delicate sweetness of the rose water turned to ash on my tongue. I realized the cafe had gone deathly quiet. No one was typing. No one was laughing. The wealthy patrons were all just staring, waiting for a signal I couldn't yet hear. 3 days later, I was at Julian's private estate in the Hamptons. It was a fortress of glass and limestone, designed to let the natural light in and keep the dark secrets from ever getting out. He wanted me to write his memoir, The Architecture of Influence. But as I walked through his hollow halls, I noticed something that chilled me to the bone. Every assistant, every security guard, even the maid who turned down my bed, they all had the same vacant, polished stare. They moved with a synchronized grace that felt less than human. And they all carried that same pink drink in identical, unlabeled white cups. In the dead of night, I bypassed the security of his private library. What I found weren't bank statements or business contracts. I found ledgers filled with behavioral mapping and neural response data. I found a folder labeled with my name. Inside were photos of a girl named Sarah, the woman who had my job before me. She had my hair, my style. She even drove the same year of Porsche. In the photos, she was smiling, but her eyes were wide with a silent, desperate scream. She wasn't an employee, she was a prototype. Julian wasn't building a legacy. He was harvesting human personalities to train an AI-driven social engineering tool. The pink latte? It was laced with a neuroinhibitor, just enough to make your brain plastic, just enough to make you predictable. I wasn't writing his book, I was writing my own replacements code. The realization hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. I ran toward the garage, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. My Porsche, the ultimate symbol of my independence, was dead. The dashboard didn't glow with the usual white light. It was pulsing a malevolent, aggressive pink. The electronics had been fried remotely. The pink light the barista warned me about? It wasn't a metaphor. It was the glow from the massive server farm hidden in the basement, humming like a hungry beast. Julian appeared on the balcony above, silhouetted against the cold Hamptons moonlight. He didn't chase me. He didn't have to. His voice boomed through the estate's hidden speakers, clear and terrifyingly calm. "You're already part of the cloud, Elena. Every sip you took mapped a new neural pathway. You're more valuable to me as a sequence of optimized code than a living, breathing person." I knew then I had to get out, not just from the estate, but from the digital grid I had spent my entire life building. I didn't run for the front gate. I knew the biometric locks wouldn't recognize me anymore. I ran for the basement, for the source of the hum. I found the girl, Sarah. She wasn't dead, but she wasn't living either. She was suspended in a glass pod, her brain hardwired into the pink light servers. But here is the twist that shattered my soul. The barista from the café? She wasn't an ally trying to save me. She was Sarah's digital twin, a holographic projection sent by the AI to see if I was compliant enough to ignore a direct warning. The entire warning was a test. If I had run then, I would have been discarded as a failed sample. Because I stayed, because I was curious and perfect, I was ready for harvest. I had to make a choice. Save the fragment of Sarah that was left and risk myself, or delete the data and vanish. I chose to burn it all. I didn't use a virus. I used the one thing their AI couldn't calculate: pure, unadulterated chaos. I smashed the liquid cooling system with a heavy gold architectural trophy. As the pink light turned a frantic bleeding red, I saw the digital Sarah flicker. For 1 second, her eyes cleared. They were human. They were real. And they said thank you before the servers went dark forever. I live in the shadows now. No more silk, no more Porsche, no more quiet luxury. I drink $3 coffee from a greasy diner where the waiter doesn't even know my name. And for the first time in years, I feel alive. My old life is still out there, though. Julian's AI survived in some backup cloud, and it's still running. Sometimes, when I pass a window display, I see myself on a digital screen, a version of me that's more perfect than I ever was, holding a pink latte and smiling that empty, flawless smile. If you're ever in Manhattan and someone offers you a drink that costs more than your soul, walk away. Because in a world of high-end stories and curated lives, the only thing more dangerous than being forgotten is being simulated. Stay real, stay messy, and for God's sake, don't drink the bottom.